Good morning. Really excited about this panel this morning. We're going to dive deep into how to fundraise through camp, what's the right way to fundraise through camp, and how to do it in a decommodified way. We have a very exciting group of panelists this morning. Hold on. I think I'm younger than I am sometimes. Teresa Duncan. Teresa has been Director of Philanthropic Engagement at Burning Man since 2015. Teresa leads the fundraising strategy with honors. Which honors? With my glasses on. Which honors Burning Man's culture of gifting while supporting its global mission. Previously, Teresa served as Vice President of Development at the Aquarium of the Pacific and taught fundraising to environmental organizations here and abroad. And on Playa, you can find her sharing her collection of books from past and future authors as the time-traveling librarian at Black Rock City. So, Teresa.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. We were asked to add a little bit of color to that description, and I think there's one thing I want to share with you that might not jump off the page, and that is my background in fundraising. I've been in fundraising and nonprofit work since I was a kid, but also professionally for about 18 years. And I thought I was at the pinnacle of giving and generosity. You can imagine not only serving a nonprofit and raising dollars for them, but also teaching fundraising. I thought I was at the pinnacle of being surrounded by people who were the most generous people I could possibly meet. And then I went to Burning Man. I went to Burning Man and I found that giving and generosity could be even more expansive and abundant than I previously knew. And here I was thinking I was an expert. And like Burning Man does, it teaches you whatever you think you know, it's going to call it all into question. So it's been such a privilege in the last several years to get really involved in fundraising for Burning Man Project. And one of the most exciting parts of the work I do is learning about what amazing work is being done out in the community with fundraising, whether it's for art projects or theme camps. It's for vehicles. It's a really vibrant gifting culture. And one of the things we discovered as we started talking about this could be a 2 full-day session on gifting. So we're going to try to talk fast and cover a lot of ground, and I'm just really excited to be here this morning. Thanks.
All right, so I'm changing things up. I don't need to read your bios. You guys are way better at this than I am. Talking about yourself. So I'm just going to have you guys pass it down and do your own. Pass behind you, so.
My name is Ben Seeger. I'm from District. Doing my 16th year on Playa. Started as a deep end camp. We grew from a little box truck with 2 speakers and a fold-out table. And as Burning Man has grown, we have grown along with it. We have a great reputation and a great, we work with you guys a lot and make sure everything is cleared with them. Our biggest points in our community involvement, community engagement, and also collaboration. We always try to work around camps. We'll dive more into this as we go along. But that's pretty much it. I look forward to answering all of your questions and providing any sort of insight that you have on large-scale event fundraising and also the other avenues that we have done to raise money.
Hi, good morning, guys. How you doing? Yeah. So my name is Genevieve. I've been part of Camp Mystic, which, if you guys know us, we have been around for 20 years. And we had a very humble beginning. So for the first maybe 10 of those years, it was a really small camp with great people that loved camping together. And then I came on about 9 years ago, to lead the camp. And since then, we've been really, really growing with our interactivity. And so one of the things that I want us to be focusing on, we've got events here, we've got a great art club here. One of the things we've been really successful at is fundraising through Kickstarter and crowdfunding campaigns. And so we've done a really great job there, so I'm here to give you some tips about that. I'm also really, really focused on helping community build and activate community, and that's a real key part of having any fundraising activity go well. So I'll be talking a little bit to that. You can find us at 2 o'clock. We do events by day, evolutionary speaker series, and we're famous for Wednesday night transmission of truth and beauty party, which is really, really epic. So come see us. Bye.
Hi, my name is Pablo. I'm founder of Maya Water. We're a camp and an art park that started in 2012 at Burning Man. And the platform is a collaborative project between a lot of artists, indigenous tribes from Mexico. And what we're trying to do right now is trying to make the project sustainable, helping communities in need in the Mayan space. So that's what we're trying to do right now. We're a nonprofit organization. We just turned like two months ago. And we're still like learning a lot on how to fundraise and how to sustain the project. And we're all about, you know, uniting what we do at the playa and the responsible, you know, parting to help communities. That's what the two elements that we want to really unite and to create that work and stuff.
Hey, I'm Allie Zaraps. I'm the Associate General Counsel in Burning Man Project's legal department. I have worked with Burning Man since, in that capacity since 2014. I've been going to Burning Man since 2004. I went through law school. One of the things that was always fascinating to me was the way that Burning Man navigated intellectual property in a decommodified space. I did intellectual property litigation before I joined Burning Man. It was everybody I think has a dream job story, but for me, the idea of marrying my passion for Burning Man with my passion for the law and be able to focus on intellectual property in particular has been incredible. So if you ever email ip@burningman.org, that email is going to me. And the reason that I'm excited to be on this panel today is to sort of help to guide the appropriate ways to kind of use Burning Man's IP in fundraising, and also to kind of comment on things that we see in the cultural space that may not be an issue with intellectual property, but that people in the community may find to touch on decommodification issues, which could have an impact on your fundraising.
So I fixed this video. Watch this. It's Burning Man producing on the fly.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's easy.
So. Okay, so really just want to start, you can start with the theme camp leads here. What are best ways to raise camp for your funds? What are the best ways to raise money for your camp? And I think one of the important things, not just the different ways, but whether one should.
The best way is we were a nonprofit as well. Fun fact, we actually, the Deep End was a nonprofit a year before Burning Man was a nonprofit. And we kind of paved the way for what I've seen a lot of other camps, and sound camps in particular, kind of following that lead of being a nonprofit and really giving back to the community. In regards to fundraising, we really try and tie a lot into the local communities and charities. One of our favorites every year, we do an event called Holidays, where we give back to Make-A-Wish Foundation, which grants a wish to a child with a terminal illness. With that, we also we've done Habitat for Humanity builds with our camp. We're doing another event in San Francisco in a couple weeks in April, where we're going to work with the SF Marine Food Bank and really work with the homeless and providing meals for them. So a big part of our fundraising is always tying in local communities and local charities, along with the fundraising that we're doing on the event side. That's also, we're a big music camp, obviously, so we have a really strong community in the music world, and our events are really bringing in the majority of our money. We have done one Kickstarter before, which was a huge pain in the ass. And I don't think, yeah, we're big on music side. For us, it was a really good avenue. I don't think we'll ever do a Kickstarter again. There's too much for us. We definitely excel more in doing large scale events and music, and you can dive more into the Kickstarter online side. So.
Sure. Yeah, we did a little both, so I'm happy to provide both of those things. But I think the question is like when to do it and when not to do it, and maybe some of the best practices. Is that what you just asked? Yeah. So I think there are some things that you want to have in place before you even start this conversation about fundraising. I think some people are doing their ambitions outstrip their sort of resources, and so you end up with those camps where somebody's left with the bill at the end, and we just want to make sure y'all aren't getting yourself into that. So one of the things that to me is the most important thing, which is I hinted at, which is community engagement and activation. So when we do our
Kickstarters or our events, we make sure that everybody is extra excited and activated. And for years, we used our events as a means of getting everybody involved in the community on and off Playa. And then everyone is really excited because they're interacting and they're like part of family. It's not just I show up for a week at the desert, it's these are my friends that I'm going to support. You know, if your best friend called you and said, will you give me $20 to help me do something, you would give it to them. But if you ask a stranger who only camps with you once a year, they're probably not going to give it to you. So one of the reasons that our stuff is super successful every time we do it is that we are engaging throughout the year, activating the community. So one is just do that first. And if you have good community activation, I think a Kickstarter goes well. If you want to do events, which we also do, because we're also a sound camp, we have a lot of artists that stay at our camp, visual artists, auditory artists, light artists, performing artists, fire spinners, they all camp with us. So if you don't have those people in your community, when you throw an event, it means that your event's going to cost a lot because you're going to have to pay all these people. So our events don't cost us as much because mostly these guys are like, let me donate this. So if you are sitting on a bunch of great creatives, and partners are so creative, then an event might be a good idea for you if you can look and not have to spend all the outlay, all the cash, right? So it's like, do you have a more active community where it's easier to get community than maybe you want to do a crowdfund? Or do you have like a lot of artists and maybe you can actually figure out how to do an event where you don't pay and only get a couple $100 after you pay all the price for renting the venue and the lighting system and everything else. So those are just some things to think about when you're deciding between them. You know, for us, we have an art car. It's the Mystic Flyer. It's got 12,000 LEDs and visionary art and time jump inside. It's a really neat car. And we've been successful at raising about $70,000 for that. And we do so much with that. Like we don't have their budget, but our car is pretty damn great for a $7,000 car. And every year we've had great perks. And so I don't know if I'm getting ahead of when the questions come, but I can talk about the Decommodified perks in a minute. And so that's gone really well, and now our art car is being paid to show up at festivals, right? So that's another way that we raise funds. And then we're now doing events. Now, if you do an event and you do it at a bar, you're going to pay a lot for the liquor license in the bar. You all know it's like the venue itself is going to eat up a lot of your ticket price. But if you go out on a camping trip, which is what we do, you can, for very, very little, you can actually do an event that doesn't cost you a lot. You have your own artists. You know, everybody's donating, and now you've actually got an event that'll really fundraise. So just think about what resources and assets you already have, and write down that list, and then based on what you got, that's what you use to decide how to fundraise. At least that's what I would use in your shoes. So that's just a little bit. We can talk more later about the Decommodified perks and stuff.
Okay, so for us, the best way to raise funds is our events, right? And we're going to do 18 events next year between America and Europe. And we have found that the best way to do this is to partner up with a local promoter. And the local promoter takes care of basically everything, you know, promotion, and we do a 50-50 split. So that's a very good way to align the interests, and I mean, you'll be amazed at how big the Burning Man community is in a lot of countries. Really, you know that.
Yep, we're going to Dubai.
Yeah. Yeah, we did Dubai also. It's an interesting one. And so that's one. The other thing is that we saw that it's way more efficient in this trying to unite, you know, the event, the responsible event with a community impact, is that we have been giving money to Fundación Tulum and Bienestar Sostenible, which is in the Ribera Maya, and there is no way to see where the money went. You know, I mean, you say, okay, we gave this to this organization, that's it. And people don't resonate with that. So then we did another thing with disaster relief in Mexico with the earthquake, which we did a Kickstarter campaign to raise money to, you know, give ship pots, right, to the affected. And just by taking a picture of a few, you know, of ship pots right there with the people, no, it resonated way more with less money. So I think the next route that we're going to take is, okay, let's build the school. No, let's build whatever the community needs ourselves directly, and then see the before and the after. And I think that's way more efficient to do this. No?
One other point I want to make is we found also this collaboration between different camps. At all events that we do, we always try and book at least one or two artists from other camps. We've done multiple stage events where we've had other camps host the stage. We donate to their organization as well. So that's also a really big thing, especially now that there's so many fundraisers, specifically here in San Francisco. There's one every single weekend, year-round, from everything up and down, which is great, but it also creates market saturation. We have a combined collectives calendar that we share with a bunch of camps here, like Aqua Temple, Dusty Rhino, ourselves. So it helps us to not double up on fundraisers, and it gives us an opportunity to not really saturate the market or do an event, the night before, the night after. So that's also very important to reach out to other camps that are doing the same thing that you're doing, to make sure you guys aren't doing stuff on top of each other.
So those are all great examples. I think I would add to that the idea, which we talked about as a team too, is the idea of really creating the right size fundraiser. So we have some different examples of sizes here on the panel, but also encouraging you, if you're starting for the first time, start small. Think about what resources you currently have, the people and community that you already have engaged. I'd much rather see you start something small and just completely exceed your expectations and then build on that. People want to give to things that they know are going to be successful and really be able to deliver on what they're promising. So being able to deliver on that is really important. So you want to be careful not to go too big that you end up disappointing people too. So that's critical. I think also when you're thinking about partnering with a promoter, I'm sure you take a lot of careful time to really find a partner in that really understands the Burning Man ethos and the Burning Man principles. So imagine the whole process behind that. That could be somewhere where things could really go sideways if you have the wrong promoter, because they might not understand what our culture is all about. And then the other part of this about your partnerships with other nonprofits too, thinking about who you're partnering with. And there's such an entire, the global network of different nonprofits that you can partner with outside the Burning Man sphere and also within. We have Christopher Breedlove, who's here from Burners Without Borders. And you could probably name any city in the world and he can tell you about the burners there that are in need of support for their projects that they're working on. So he's also a great person to tap on the shoulder to see what opportunities are there.
So we were going to talk about best practices for events. And you've already covered a lot. I mean, the essence of collaboration is obviously very important. But can you touch on any other tips about doing events as fundraisers?
The biggest one, that's hard. It's hard because we've grown from something very small. If we would ask any of us from the deep end 15 years ago if we were going to be doing this now, we'd be like, you're crazy. And we just kind of grew along with the organization, and so what she said, start small. A lot of camps are starting now really big, outrageous budgets, and it's a quick way to lose a lot of money quickly. And that's pretty much it. Start small and work together. That's the most important.
Do you want to comment?
Well, just a little bit. I think at the end, a camp or an art card, it's a brand, right? And we have to treat it as one, because at the end you're marketing something, and you're fundraising funds for the cause, and it has to be very clear the DNA, the image of what you're doing, for the people, because it's just something that I really put attention to is what, and especially to do your own thing, because now that it is not possible to use footage or pictures from the millennia, right? That's you. Yeah. So now more than ever, we have to get a lot of footage and a lot of pictures from the events. So next time we return to that place, right, to that venue, we market the previous one. So.
Yeah, Yeah, so it's a great segue because one of the things I started thinking about is, all right, so when we're out in the world, right, and you guys both brought up that you guys are going to Dubai, like I see there are certain markets, so to speak, in the world where Burning Man, the excitement about Burning Man is somewhat outpacing the understanding of Burning Man. So, you end up having a lot of, there have been Burning Man events not related to the regional network in places as disparate as Bangkok and Dubai and Madrid and Paris over the last couple of years. There is no affiliation with the theme camp, no fundraising component for something coming to Black Rock City or a regional event. It is simply a promoter who's using images from Burning Man and the Burning Man name in order to attract attention. So if you're doing a fundraiser for your camp, one of the key things to make sure that you're doing in your promotions is to make that clear. And what we see is in an abundance of caution and concern about using Burning Man's trademarks, the names Burning Man or Black Rock City, what we get in fact is the unintended consequence of nobody knows it is a fundraiser, which creates that sort of slippery slope in the community where others are like, well, I see these guys doing a thing, they're having a Burning Man party, and they don't know that it's a fundraiser, so they think they can just do a for-profit Burning Man style event. And that creates a kind of fatigue in the community as well. We've gotten reports on the IP team about fundraisers that, I know, is actually a camp that they're fundraising for their activities. It's not clear from the promotion, so they kind of turned off the burners, perhaps, in that community from attending and supporting that event because they think it's like a for-profit thing. So just a note of caution about that. And to be, it's not that you're restricted from using it. What we want to do is avoid 2 points of confusion in fundraising. The first, and not necessarily in this order, but that there's no confusion as to whether or not Burning Man Project is involved in your fundraiser. That it's not a Burning Man fundraiser, as in Teresa's team and the organization are involved in that event. It is a fundraiser for your camp or your project at Burning Man or in Black Rock City. And that's one point of confusion. And the other point is confusion about whether or not it's a fundraiser at all. So we want to make sure it's clear to people that that's what you're doing.
I'd add a little bit, and these guys really do a lot more events that are fundraisers than I do, so they're someone to lean on. But I would say that one of the things that we're doing even now, we've got an event we're going to do in May, and we create multiple donor levels. I mean, it's very obvious, very simple. So there are some people that can buy just whatever the lowest price ticket, but we create like a steward and an ambassador and a visionary level, and these are 3 different donor levels. So you do have people that you can activate that are willing to buy a ticket at a higher price. And so that's a really simple thing to have your events work. And what you say is like create a really beautiful video that says, hey, if you're willing to give an extra $50, extra $100, you're going to empower us to bring a great artist or to scholarship someone to be able to come that couldn't have come, that's going to create an amazing experience. So if you can, like, hey, why don't you give us that extra donor level, and you're going to really be gifting to this community that you love. So that's one thing that we do in our events that's really great, and we end up getting some wonderful people that way. Second thing is that, is to identify the connectors in your community. So usually, and we're burners, and we tend to be a little on the extroverted side, not all of us, but there are at least a few of us that are like really connected to a lot of people. And if you can activate them to be on the team of getting people to come, and you have maybe 5 or 10 people already pre-identified that are going to be on your team, you say each of them bring another 20, 30, 40 people, 50 people, whatever the size that you think is reasonable, and you really activate them to do that and promote with you, that if you do that in advance, and you get a sense of who they're going to invite, then before you even start, oh, how big is this event going to be? Am I going to break even? How many people do we need to invite? So I would have you guys look at how many do you need to invite to break even? Do you have 5 captains in place that can invite those people so that you know ahead of time? And then that's your go, no-go decision on it. So those are just a couple.
One last thing. If you have, the most important thing is if you have a question on what you can and cannot say, just ask. Get approval. We did festival in London, and we made sure that we cleared every single picture, everything that we used with Burning Man, every tagline, it all went through and we went through the approval process. That's super important. Make them aware of any questions, just ask. And they've always been very good about answering.
What's the email for that?
IP@burningman.org.
Great, thank you.
Can we say that for the recording? We are recording, by the way, so you don't want to be heard. The question was, what is the email address? IP@burningman.org.
Great. I have 2 comments to add. One is that I heard some grumblings and a low moan when Pablo used the words brand and marketing. I can understand where those groans might come from. One thing I want to use an example from the default world. If we think about brand and marketing in order to create a profit for a company, that's clearly commodified fundraising. That's what we're trying to avoid in this conversation. If we're talking about brand and marketing for a nonprofit that's making the world a better place, that's a big positive. Charity Water is one of my favorite nonprofits out there. They have really great communications. If you're looking for a how-to of best practices out there, they're a really good organization to look for. They have a brand. They do marketing. And it's beautiful, and it's inspiring, and it gets more people involved in their cause. So thinking about, we're very careful with words here, which is good, but we also, as much as we want to use our own vocabulary, we also don't want to accidentally vilify words that can actually help us do better work. The second comment I want to add is about fundraising events, best tips. I have a litmus test for you. When you're producing a fundraising event, think about the people as they leave that night and as they wake up that next morning. Did they learn something about the Burning Man culture? If the answer is a resounding yes, I think you're doing fundraising the right way. If you're not so sure, or it's an absolute no, then maybe we need to rethink about how we're approaching our events and our programming of our events.
So you touched on a little bit, Genevieve, and anybody else who wants to add. Best practices for non-event fundraising. There's crowdfunders, there's Raise the Paddle. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of Charity Buzz. It's an online auction. And I think you talk a lot about experiences as well as items to gifts. Can you talk a little bit to that?
Yeah, sure. Sure, just I just want to get a sense. How many of you have ever done any crowdfunding? I want to see like who's in the room, what have you done? Great. And then how many of you have ever done like event fundraising? Okay, great. Good. So it's like about half and half. How many of you, when you did your crowdfunding campaign, met your goal or made the money you wanted to make? Okay, great. And how many of you, when you event fundraise, did you make the money you wanted to make? Okay, great. Okay, just take a barometer, like how y'all are doing, because it helps me kind of know like who's struggling, who's not. Because there's a lot of wisdom in the room, and if there's time, y'all should talk to the people that raise their hands. So wait, those of you who have been successful at either of those, will you raise your hands? Are you willing to have people come up to you and ask you questions? Yeah. Okay, great. So just like take a look. You can come up to us throughout the event. All right. So for crowdfunding, so we've done a couple campaigns for our art car, and then we crowdfunded for Android Jones's Samskara. And because he came to us really late in the game, he's like, hey, can we have a Samskara with you? We're like, yes, you all know Samskara. It's amazing. Anyway, so what we did is we developed a set of perks. So there's a lot of like grumblings on this panel about the perks costing as much as the thing. And our perks didn't cost us hardly anything because we have at our camp, we do a speaker series by day, so we have all these teachers and thought leaders and healers, and so they all gifted like a session with them or an online program of theirs as a perk. And then all of our musicians, like really great musicians like Random Rad and Human Experience and Future Primitive, who all camp with us, donated their entire discographies. So for a perk at a higher level, you were getting a digital download of all this amazing music. And then you're listening to their music and they love that because they are making most of their money these days on their tour anyway. People aren't making their money on their downloads as much as they used to. So they were happy to give us that. So that was some of our perks. So here's just a couple more ideas. Then at the much higher levels, we were giving people a champagne party. So if you were going to give I think it was at the $2,500 level or even maybe the $1,000 level, We had $1,000, $2,500, and $5,000 donation levels. Now, not a lot of people give at those levels, unless maybe you're these guys. But for those levels, you would get like an art tour, and you could bring as many people as you wanted, and we would bring some light snacks and some champagne, and you bring all your friends, and we take you out on our art car, and you have like your own little party. You get to host it, and you're giving that back, and that's an experience. Now, there's a little bit of cost. It was like a couple $100 for like a few bottles of champagne. I mean, it was minimal. So those are just some more ideas around decommodified and experiences, and a lot was talked about yesterday. But Burning Man being less about giving a bunch of stuff. I mean, we're so consumerist in our regular worlds. Like, let's actually give each other the most unforgettable, memorable experiences. And so these experiences of these amazing sessions with these thought leaders and these experiences of these parties were great. So that's one idea. The other thing I want to talk about is the Raise the Paddle. Part of what made some of our fundraising campaigns go really well is one, we did the same thing where we identified the captains, the people that are like, okay, I'm going to go and help get more people to raise, and we had identified those people. So we knew out of the gate that we were going to have a lot of people donating right on that first day. Part of getting listed and having people feel like they're going to give to a campaign that's actually going to be successful is that you have a nice big influx at the beginning. So you get everybody ahead of time saying, I'm going to give on the day it opens, right? So that's the first thing, is you get a lot of excitement. So it's not like I'm giving to a campaign that's raising all this money and we've only raised 2%. It's like on day one, you should have about 50, 60% of your funds already committed. So we did that every time. So it looks like a really fun campaign. But two, we did this thing called Raise the Paddle, and we identified a few people in our community that were willing to do price matching. So what that meant was like, hey, I'm going to give $500 if 10 of you will also give $500. So let's see if we can get 10 people that will each give $500. And we had another one say, okay, I'm going to give 1,000. If we can find 10 people that will give 1,000, then I'll do it. And so it activated, we were like, come on. And some people would give like $250 and $250 to try to get on the 500 so that they could be in the race. But boy, does your fundraising go well. And you don't have to use numbers as high. You know, you could do $50 or $100. But what I'm saying is if you can do these kinds of things to gamify it, people got really excited. Like how many, and every day it was like, we got 7 out of our 10 people at $1,000 each. We only need 3 more, and that gets kind of fun. And people are wanting to give a little bit more. So those are some ideas on Kickstarter campaigns and Indiegogo campaigns. And I think we raised, like I said, about 60, 70,000 with our campaigns, and then about 20 to 25 for the Samskara one there. So, and we did that in a couple weeks. So it was done really well. So those are just some ideas for Kickstarters and crowdfunds. All right, anyone else on that? You did never.
I just have one point too, like as the caveat to be aware of that sometimes people aren't clear on is the use of a ticket as a perk. So Burning Man tickets, because you may get an extra one, you may find yourself with an extra one through DGS or you're an art project or whatever. Those tickets are intended to be used for the crew that's coming out to help with the project, and generally, in part because it is such a slippery slope, if every project was kind of using tickets for that purpose, that we kind of don't make exceptions for that. It's a little bit of a change for how things used to be. It used to be that art projects, you may be familiar with this if you're like old school in the community, that they kind of could use some of that. And tickets are a commodity, obviously. It's like one of our biggest commodities. But we try and keep a certain amount of decommodification in the tickets through not having them go for above face value and not having them become this thing that's an auction item that you're trying to get as much money out of. The exception is that Burning Man does have a kind of small ticket donation program for local nonprofits that contact us, and there are certain tickets that are set aside specifically for that purpose, but that's just something to be aware of. And again, if there's ever any questions about things like this, I'm always available to answer them.
I have a question. Can I ask you?
Yes. We at one donor level did it once where we included dues to our camp at that donor level. That's okay, right?
From
Because we're on a wait list. Like we usually have enough people that we like. It's like a thing to try to get in sometimes. So that was an attractive way. It's like, oh, I can't get into camp unless I donate. You know. So anyway, so that's Streamlight. Thanks.
And not to make it yellow, but I'd also say there's a legal question, or a question that has to do with IP and kind of legal recommendations, and then there's also the idea that it can sometimes create an imbalance. So you just want to be careful of that. It may not in your camp structure, your camp size, but if it creates an imbalance where someone feels like, oh, at that level, they're not contributing in the way that I'm contributing. So as long as you're careful with your language, I think there are ways to do that. You just want to be careful not to tip the scales. And then the thing you just want to be cautious of is your language related to donations, nonprofit status, tax deductibility. So you don't want to be in a position where you never want to be giving tax advice to anyone. And when you talk about any kind of tax deductible donation, you want to be sure that you are either already registered and have 501c3 nonprofit status, or you're working with some kind of fiscal sponsorship program. And if you have further questions, you can always ask me after.
All right, I have one more question before we go to the audience, and I was just hoping Allie could talk more about how to use logos, things like that. If you're going to do perks or for events, logos, your logo that they have Burning Man, all that kind of stuff we talked about.
Yeah, so one of the things I really love about being an IP lawyer is we have a sort of a super broad licensing program, is what you would call it in my world, which is essentially the gifting principle, which is, you can always use adaptations of the Burning Man, man symbol and Burning Man and Black Rock City in your project sort of logo, so to speak. Your theme camp, and they have some variation, skate camps, got this man holding a skateboard, whatever works for. It's also part of radical self-expression. We like to see the way that the man gets used in, in other projects, kind of be, turns into something that's an affinity symbol for your group versus just a copy of the man. And so if that's part of your project symbol, and then, you're going to be essentially as a perk, gifting stickers or t-shirts or some kind of merchandise that's got that logo on it, that's okay. And the way that we kind of, we did some thinking about this, and it is an extension of the gifting principle. You're essentially, you're thanking the supporters of your project. And what is that project? But ultimately, it's a gift for Black Rock City. So this is where the distinction comes. You're not supposed to be crowdfunding for your swag. If you're trying to raise money for your gift items, you're essentially commodifying the gift item. So if you made this really great, look at Teresa's got this lovely medallion on. And if you're essentially saying, I'm crowdfunding for that, everybody who gives me $20 is going to get one of these, and as a result, I'll be able to bring some out and gift them to people. Essentially, you're selling that necklace for $20, and you'd have to run into that person on the playa, and to be able to get that gift. As opposed to a theme camp, a mutant vehicle, an art project, by definition, all of those things come out, and they are available for everybody. If you're doing that right, it's a gift for the whole city. So we've kind of come up with a decommodified, essentially money-related thing, where you're giving money and getting something for it because at bottom that thing is a gift. So be cautious when in your perks that you're not just like giving away merchandise, because that could rub people the wrong way. But if it's something that's an affinity for your project and they feel like, I gave to the Black Rock Bijou and I got this great dust globe thing for my donation, or the Dust City Diner will give you some just cute stuff that relates to your project. And the experiential stuff, do not discount that, because burners, we all like tchotchkes, but we all like experiences.
I love that you brought that up at the end, the importance of the experiences too, and you did too, Genevieve. We've been coupling for our event. We have our autumnal gathering, which is a gala that we hold in the fall to support Burning Man projects, art and civic engagement programs. And in some of our experiences that we have as part of our auction, we're including that it's a volunteer opportunity too. So for example, if they get to help like the fireworks at Burning Man on Monday night, they also are working the perimeter. And it's this really beautiful thing where they're not only experiencing something, but they're giving back while they're receiving it. So you kind of see that cycle playing out. So there's creative ways that you can also include opportunities for in-depth participation too.
Okay, so we're going to open it up to the audience. My only request is that we can just hand this back and forth, repeat the question.
I'm Jediah from Rancho Sparklepody. I have a few notes here. Wish that you guys had talked about camp contributions a little bit more, or dues. Run a camp for like $20,000 to $25,000, based mostly on camp contribution or the gift that they're giving to the camp, so that we can put this on for people and hold the stage. Some of these perks, I want to make sure you're not saying that these perks are being delivered on Playa, right? Because I knew people that were like, wanted to like auction off a experience at Burning Man, which I thought, there's no way I didn't want to support that. So 3, I guess I'd say, where does the holding company for all this? Like, does it always have to be a nonprofit? Why can't it be a for-profit holding company, like a corporation or LLC? We're high functioning. We're starting to become so much more high functioning, and we want to go create stuff in the world and have this camp that we also sort of own. So I'm trying to navigate that. Camp dues also eliminate some of the fucking entitlement that you get people who like didn't have to pay the camp due, or didn't, they're like, or like the DJ's like, oh well, I'll trade out a set for you guys for my camp. It's like, no, that's not a gift. You know what I mean? I don't see that working for me. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's it.
You gotta repeat the question.
I just start with camp dues.
Repeat the question.
Well, basically about camp dues, there's a bunch in there. We're bare bones. Our camp dues are relatively cheap. You can't unless you're going to work your ass off. That's basically it. We basically offer, we have showers, you bring your own water. We have a kitchen, you bring your own food. We really push principles on, making everyone get involved. And we don't have a chef. We used to have a chef at campus a few years ago to cook food, but then we're like, half the time we don't even eat. So we're like, this is stupid. But I've been to some really nice meals at some other camps. Our district is very bare bones. We really encourage everyone to participate.
Yeah, I'll say, so his question was sort of like, hey, you guys didn't talk much about camp dues and how camp dues are what's funding most camps, right? I say that every year that I've been involved, I was the treasurer, also co-lead of camp, so I know a lot about the finances of our camp, and we operate in the black every year, but we don't ever spend more than we bring in, which is great. So we do that through our dues, and we don't do the whole trade thing where our artists or speakers or everybody signs up for 2 shifts. You can't even register at our camp without signing up for a minimum of 2 shifts. Like our whole registration system requires it. We have 40 teams, so there's going to be a place where you're going to find that you can be creative. There's so many ways to contribute to camp. And then so we always set our dues at a place where we know that we can afford it, and if we bring in less, then we cut projects so that we're never in that position. So I just highly recommend really a lot of planning ahead of time, knowing, we have a budget we submit ahead of before we even open our dues, so we know exactly by line item of every single item we're buying. We know all of that ahead of time, and then we set our dues. And so I really recommend doing that. I think the last thing you said was something about experiences on Playa. Yeah, we when people are willing to do a perk, we love to give them an experience on Playa. Like that's a positive for us. I don't know if I understand why that's hard for you, but at the higher donor levels, we gave someone like an art tour on our camp because they donated something like $1,000, but we made it an inclusive art tour. So you couldn't just block off Velvet Road with the art car. You could fill it up with whoever you wanted, and we were going to pick up people along the way, and they're going to be part of your party. So just because we're really big on the no Velvet Road.
That's the major difference.
Yeah, we didn't do that, and nor did we, because it's not in the spirit of it. But anyway, so those are some thoughts.
Yeah, and I'm actually glad that you brought that up a little bit more because I heard that and I wanted to clarify because that's another thing. You know, we're a clearinghouse of you know, kind of people's concerns about Burning Man on the IP team that often go beyond the scope of IP, and that is something specifically that we've gotten some reports about when it's all in the way that you phrase it. So to, you know, kind of Teresa's point earlier about nomenclature, if your perk has the look of, you know, radical exclusion, you know, that can honestly, you know, the person may never have been planning to give $5,000 to, you know, actually get that perk. They may have given you 25, though, but now the way that your perks are worded make them wonder about your motivations. And I do want to say too that there is, you know, kind of in a theme of this weekend that to kind of come from a place of thinking the best of your fellow burners. Sometimes what concerns me is because I see a lot of stuff from the outside coming in, and when there's a little bit too much like on the inside, when we're looking at each other or looking over our shoulders, like is that guy doing it right, or what's his motivation? You know, to think the best of one another before you assume the worst. But we don't want to, you know, every vehicle to, you know, ends up being a private party because they all gave out so many perks on Kickstarter that they are now not conveyances. So that, to be clear, you're not getting a private party on our vehicle, but you are going to be able to invite some friends, and we're going to go around the play, and you're going to have a great night.
And talking about perks, some of the resources that we fundraise, we make this beaded bracelets. I don't know if you have seen them. We buy those from an indigenous tribe in Mexico, and that's the perk that we give out in the play. So we feel that's like the right way to do that cycle.
Another question. Oh, in the back?
My name's Jordy. I have a very large, high-profile art piece this year, and I have a lot of collaborators, and we intend to sell off these kind of extraneous pieces of art. Do you view that as commodification? And if not, how can I avoid the issue of the appearance of commodification?
So, if I could, I'm going to repeat your question, but I think I need to clarify it. You're saying as part of your high-profile or large art project, or expensive art project, you're selling off pieces of art or
non-integral pieces that will be installed on the art.
You know, to me, and this is an example of it, like this doesn't implicate IP, and there may be some, you know, within the room, some concern about culture. From my perspective, that sounds like an amazing perk. You're kind of contributing to a piece. You're contributing to, you know, kind of collectively create the piece and then have a piece of it. I think that sounds great. I don't know if others have other opinions.
Anne-Marie, did you have a question?
Actually, I was just going to respond. You'd asked about the difference between nonprofit and other options. Mike Copley, Wooten, is willing to answer those questions because I know he's answering it for a couple of others. So if you want to find each other at a break. Wooten, 60-63.
Oh yeah, we didn't address his question about nonprofit. I don't know versus LLC.
Oh, nonprofit, yeah.
So to repeat that for the audio, we had, what was your name?
Anne-Marie or Impulse from Joby and...
So Anne-Marie or Impulse was just making the recommendation that her campaign Wooten is available to answer questions about the entity that you might want to structure. And we have had in other gatherings a panel that really describes all the ins and outs of LLC versus partnerships versus nonprofits and how do you go about that process. And it's really involved. It's probably more than we can tackle in this conversation, but you're asking the right questions. So that's a real positive. And you've got a lot of resources in the room of people who have considered it. So collectively, and I'm sure Wooten will be helpful too. And then offline, if you want to come and ask me, I can put you in the right direction for some resources as well.
Yeah, Doctor?
Hi, I'm Sparky from the Enchanted Booty Forest. We have a makerspace in LA, and we have been about 70% successfully funding our rent through Patreon for months now, about a year, and we cannot get that last 30%, and we're just putting one of our members more and more in the hole every month. And I'm curious if you have any advice that might be applicable from some of your other crowdfunding resources, or if you've had success with monthly donations in that way, that maybe you can help us have some advice on making the rest of that money.
I don't have it.
So the question was regarding a camp in Los Angeles that has a makerspace that is covering their rent primarily through Patreon, about 70%, but they're really looking to make that home stretch, that last 30%. I think Patreon is a really interesting model. I think there's even people in the room who are using Patreon currently. I think there's different schools of thought. From my intuition about the way this model works is that it is extremely effective at getting people who are really thinking about the long-term sustainability of that particular artist or project. So you really get those committed people. So those 70% are really committed. They're giving those reoccurring donations. I think the one challenge, which might be the wall you're bumping up against, is that it doesn't allow you to give a one-time donation. So Patreon, you either give monthly or you don't give out. You can stop at any time, but you're really making that commitment. And the psychological barrier to entry on that, I think, is quite high. So my intuition is that either you go try to build that community more, but you've been working on it for months, so maybe that's just the limits of the current engagement you have, or you consider an alternative fundraising, whether it's a crowdfunding or other effort to be able to offset that. But you want to be careful there too, because you don't want to diminish those people who are making those monthly commitments. You don't want them to convert to one-time only donors as well. So it's a little complicated, but that's a really interesting model you bring up, and I think that it's going to continue to grow. And I would imagine in the burner culture in particular, because we really are committed to that longer-term vision, we're going to see that model popping up in new places. So it's interesting, how does that complement or conflict or compete with your existing fundraising?
Sure. So I have more questions and answers for you before I give you much advice, but do you have is your community, is that 70% coming from a lot of your community or only a few people? A few people. And do you, within your maker community, have like a lot of really creative types that, like musicians, artists, like people that can create a really neat experience, like already in-house?
Yeah, most of them aren't using the space because it doesn't meet everyone's needs, so we're going to be moving soon, and I think that will solve a lot of our problems, but yes.
Well, it sounds like y'all need like a moving party.
New home first, but yeah.
Yeah, new home first. So you know, if you have a lot of great creatives, and you only have a few people activated that are giving you the 70%, you've got like an untapped resource of the rest of your community being activated to pitch in, and utilizing the resource of the creatives to create a really amazing experience. So to bridge that gap, I would probably do a combination of the raise the paddle and an event. And does your makerspace allow you to like have people actually go there to have a party? So you already have the venue, you're already paying rent?
Yeah.
So you have a free venue, I mean, you're already paying, right?
We've had pretty successful events there before. That's something that they're doing pretty well. It's just there's so much work.
They are a lot of work. They are a lot of work, but you already have the space, so that's one check in the positive column, right? And if you have some great creatives that can create art and music, then you've got some of the next check in that column. And so, you know, I would do an event with a goal and get everybody excited about meeting the goal. And I would get some raise the paddle kind of people that are willing to give at a particular amount, and see if they can activate another 5 or 10 people to give it their same amount, like somebody to give it 500, somebody to give it 1,000, somebody to give it 100. And each of them in charge of getting 10 more people that'll meet their donation, and I think you'll get there. I don't know how big your gap is, but I think you could solve it with something like that. So I might try some of those things and see what happens, given where you're at. And I'm happy to talk to you more, like even get a little more detailed with you about it if you want to find me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah.
And then if you have 70% now committed, then the 30% you want to, the goal for that is the 30% for the entire year. So take the 12 months of that, and then that should be the goal for to make up the gap.
So I just heard the question here at this table, gentlemen, for you, which is, it sounds like there's a lot of work. Do you have like a whole staff that's helping you with these Kickstarters? Or
No, just mostly me.
if you could like just estimate, if I wanted to raise $50,000 in a Kickstarter, what am I looking at planning wise, time wise, commitment, team wise?
For a crowdfund, I probably put in 20 hours. 20, 30 hours maybe, one person. I did the campaign, like just me. I mean, I have all the other people in my camp that are using the funds, but like I was in charge of creating the campaign. And so what it involved was me reaching like actively, see I have a very active community, but I've spent countless hours being a community builder. So part of that is hard to quantify. It's like everything I do is about community building. Like we throw events all year round, not just to fundraise, just to be together because we love each other and we just want to be together. So part of that I don't know how to quantify, and that's why I can call people and say, "Well, you do me this favor," and they will, right? So a lot of it is relationship building, like being willing to build relationships with the amazing people that come to the burn that do great stuff. So when I send an email to a musician and say, "Hey, will you give me a perk?" They're like, "Of course, for you, Jennifer, yes." Right? So that is partly why it was quick, because I made 20, 30, 40 emails, got a bunch of perks together. I know how to create a little design, so I kind of learned the skills of do it yourself. There's so much out there that teaches you how to do it. Like, they walk you through how to do them really well. You don't need to pay a lot of people. You don't need a lot of skill sets. For me, it was like the biggest bang for the buck, because our crowdfunding campaign only cost us the fees that the platform took, plus a little bit more, because Android Jones did give some prints. And so that we had a few little costs like that. We did have a t-shirt that we had that was a visionary art full coverage t-shirt, but mostly it was almost no cost. So for 20, 30 hours, we made 70,000. I think it's pretty great. It's not even a full week of work,
And also, just to know that there's between two platforms. Kickstarter, you don't make the money, you raise the money. Indiegogo, you get the money no matter what you get. So it's very important to know the differences between the different tools that you use.
Yeah.
I think I want to hire you. But I think you did speak to the idea that you have a really activated community and you're working to build a community all year round. So I would put it out for those of you that raised hands for your crowdfunding. How many of you spent more than 20 hours or had more people working more than 20 hours on it? Okay, so just keep that in perspective too. But we have a superstar on the panel, so that's great.
Yeah, so for a couple of years, we did fundraisers for our camp, and we only made like nothing or a couple $100. Then we changed it from fundraisers to events, and then people actually started making more money. Do I need to change it back to fundraiser, or can I just still keep it as an event?
Seems like some semantics.
Well, yeah, because we don't really say, we just say it's an event, and then all the money that we do make now, which is actually in the thousands, we put it into our camp.
Yeah. Okay, so right, so you're just kind of fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would really recommend that you do indicate that it's a fundraiser. Because in part, so this touches on something we haven't talked about yet, which is kind of like my understanding is that it's a placement pause. I'm looking around the room for a placer. Hey there. Like in terms of just kind of obviously business, like pre-existing businesses and organizations don't come in and they're like, name of organization, theme camp at Burning Man. So what ends up happening, if there's events going on all year by an organization that aren't really kind of explicitly promoted as fundraisers, it starts to then look like it is, name of your camp, year-round event promotion, organization, entity that also comes to Burning Man, which isn't true. And so I think it's best to have that, the reality be the perception that, in fact, we're raising money. And it's not like, you're not inviting people to come and look at your books. It's not, but it's making clear that there's an element of accountability to that, to the community, that I think is hard to quantify. It's the same as with crowdfunding. If you say, look, we're having this crowdfunding campaign because we're going to bring this extra component to camp this year, and people see that the crowdfunding campaign is totally successful, and then they come out to Burning Man, and you're the same old camp again, right? And so where is the thing that everybody paid for? Now, legally, they can't really hold you to do that, but you start to look like you just pocketed all that money that the community gave you. So there's that accountability in there. And it's the same thing with the fundraiser. If you're like, look, this is a fundraiser, then nobody is going to be thinking that's a camp that's trying to make money, to trade on their Burning Man name to, kind of make money for themselves that's not being turned back into the camp. Long answer, but hopefully that's helpful.
I might add one.
Oh, sure.
Just, I don't know if it's a counterpoint, so you tell me if legally I'm not off the ground, but I think that there's like a little bit of like fatigue around the fundraising, and I think what people want is memorable, unforgettable experiences with people they get to connect to. And so I think if your event feels like that, people are not excited to go. And if it feels like, oh, you're going to be trying to pull money out of me, and I'm barely able to pay my own bills. I can understand why people are saying, oh, you got a great event, let me go to that, versus I have this great fundraiser. I'm a little more excited to go to something when I know that I'm not being extracted upon. Like my net worth isn't being considered into whether I should go. So I don't know. For me, I would say, can you create a memorable experience that it doesn't, that someone would want to go to anyway, and then after the event say, guess what, you guys, because you all came to this event, here's what we donated, such that you're showing people the fruits of your labor. So anyway, I would probably do it that way. I would be very careful because people get fatigued. There's so many people on Facebook telling me I need to be part of their fundraisers. How are you guys getting those emails every day? And I am. I'm a little fatigued by it. But if somebody says, I have the most amazing, unforgettable experience, you're never going to forget, you're going to want to go, and you're going to meet the most incredible people, I'm going to be like, yeah, how much are tickets? Can I go? I'm going to be excited. So just really showcase this experience, I think.
I have a quick counter.
Yeah. Okay, so my counterpoint is also want to make clear that, I mentioned that about sort of your camping, like Burning Man is a word, look into what you're doing. If your camp name is not involved in the, and you're just going in, do what you need to do, to raise money. But if it's, if it's Camp X events and your Camp X on Playa, our concern is to make it so that Camp X isn't perceived as a brand that comes to Burning Man, and that when Camp X is operating off Playa, they're operating in order to raise funds for the experience that they're gifting to everybody, and not trading off the name and the presence at Burning Man for other games. But if you're just going to an event that doesn't reference any of your names, and that it turns out the proceeds from that are going to your camp, that's great.
Yeah, so but we build new art for each of these events, so we are creating an experience.
Right.
But like I said, when we change, and it really is the word fundraiser. People were just tired of the word fundraiser. As soon as we changed it to events, it worked great. So I liked your idea. At the end of our party, it's like, hey, by the way, the extra money we made from this event is going to go. Is that legal? I mean, can we do that?
Yeah, and if I want to be clear, all of this is legal. There's no legal risk that you're taking. It is a cultural area. It's a great discussion. I'm really interested to hear these points because it kind of goes to show, that people have different reactions to stuff. That's part of what I'm getting at too. If you know that someone is a camp and you do see that camp operating, off plan to do these things, I kind of feel like the interpretation should be that is a fundraiser without the use of the word. What we see though is, I've been having an exchange with somebody who runs a nightclub in Miami who insists to me that, they can, because they have DJs that perform at the club that come to Burning Man, that it's fine for them to promote all of their events using footage of those DJs on Playa to reference, to put images from UPRC on the club's promotions because they see all these camps fundraising all year round. So they're using it as an example of, well, everybody's doing this, we can do this, and we are 100% for profit. So we're trying to hold a line that makes clear to club and event promoters who are unconnected to Burning Man, that if you're going to use, Burning Man and BRC imagery in your promotions, that's got to be a fundraiser.
And I would just throw out this as a question, and I'll get to, I'm calling you John, I'll get to you in a second. Is there a way to language it that fundraiser isn't the first word, so you don't get the fatigue, but there is this is this awesome experience event that supports our camp or something. So maybe the answer is to get creative and not bash people in the head with it. Sorry. Yes. But, John.
So if you're throwing a event fundraiser, it's generally going to be specific to a location. You have camps that are national, international. There's an exceptional burden on the people that are local to that location. So there's a huge amount of effort for a small amount of people to potentially lower the dues for everyone. Is there any systems or strategies to make it feel like some people aren't working for free on behalf of other people? We're talking about dollars and cents, not just volunteers.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure I fully understand the question.
So our party's in San Diego.
Yeah.
So we got a quarter of the camp was in San Diego. So they work basically part-time jobs for a couple months so that they can raise money for the entire camp. Mm. Is that just our joy that we get to do for the camp?
Yeah, I mean, we do events all over the place. We have a community that is broad and wide. We do events in San Diego as well. We're doing one there in August. And we're pretty self-contained. We'll send our group there. We have a large talent pool. We have, for us, music is a big part of it, so we have a large pool. We do offer a lot of volunteers. I also, we add in local artists and other performances and all that kind of stuff to really tie it all in there. So I'm still not sure if I can answer the question the right way.
Do you have campers at district that are not involved in helping produce these events around the world? And how do you still have them feel like equal participants?
Gotcha. They bust ass and Burning Man. We have our select crew that does all the fundraising, but if you live somewhere else, you bet you're actually going to work hard at our camp.
Do you work less hard if you busted ass at a fundraiser?
Everyone works the same. Yeah, there's no exceptions. You're going to work at it. You're going to work hard.
Yeah, that balance is tough.
Okay. And this may be our last one. We only have about 2 minutes left. So.
Hi. So we've talked. It seems like about events almost the entire time, and I've heard very little other than it seems like a bad attitude about the GoFundMe things and things like that. I know nothing about GoFundMe or any kind of internet fundraising thing, so I'm kind of wondering if there are good and bad strategies to target and stay away from as far as considering that, because we are a very distributed camp, and I don't think we're going to be able to put it together a big party somewhere that, with musicians, we don't have that. So,
we did Kickstarter once, and it was we just ran into problems because we really didn't think things out. For example, one of the perks that we did was a dog tag with a chain, put them in like 1,000-something envelopes, not realizing that those envelopes would not go through the post office. Huge mistake, huge pain in the ass, and and also with sweatshirts and t-shirts, if they donated, they would get a t-shirt. What ended up being a big problem with this, when you do that, with 1,000, 2,000 donations, it's very time-consuming, and the shipping costs, it ended up just not being, a great avenue for our camp in general. You've had a lot more success with it. So.
Yeah. The biggest thing is Kickstarter requires you to meet your goal or you get 0. And Indiegogo will give you all of the funds you make and will take a larger portion. It used to be like 9% versus like 3 or 4%. And so we made sure to do Indiegogo because we weren't sure, are we going to make our goal every year or we're not sure. So one is, deciding whether you make a lower goal that you know you'll make, or you make kind of more of a stretch goal of what you really need and risk paying a little bit more in the fees. And then the third option is just having people PayPal you directly, right? And so we had a combination of our Indiegogo, but a lot of people also paid us directly because then we paid less fees. So one is choosing the right platform and choosing the right amount. I go conservative on the amount. It actually works better when you've raised 150% or 200%. Even if you really did need that 200%, than not meeting your goal. So one is like setting the goal the right way, set it a little lower than what you need so that it can feel like you can, people want to give to campaigns they feel like are going to win. And be careful about the platform and whether you're going to get zero money or no money, and that you have someone willing to cover that gap, for instance, if you're going to do a Kickstarter. So that's another thing to think about. Patreon, which was mentioned, is a lot of artists are using this, but it's like a patron of the artist. It's every month you're getting a subscription model.
I know about that, and we're not an art camp. So.
Yeah, so that one might not be relevant to you, but you can do different things with Patreon, where it's every month you're giving them something, and they are giving you money in exchange. So that's just to show you what the key platforms that are common, and GoFundMe is another one. So they're all really good, and they all walk you through how to create the page, and you just fill in the blank. It takes you through a whole lot of them, and it's fairly simple. Yeah.
Communications and follow-through. They can be very effective campaigns if you have those two elements, and there's a lot of resources online of just how to run successful campaigns, follow a lot of those best practices, and then look to what other Burning Man groups are doing it, and you're going to see right away, like, oh, I really like the way they're talking about the ethos. I really like the way they're talking about the program or Black Rock City. So research beforehand, a lot of communications with your funders and potential funders. It's constant communication to stay in touch. And if you have the people to do that and the follow through, it's going to be successful. So it can be great.
Yeah, and then last tiny little piece.
There's a misunderstanding I think some people have about crowdfunding, which is crowdfunding is a mechanism by which you collect money from people that know you, that already know you. It's not like you think where you put your campaign and all of a sudden random strangers are going to find your campaign and donate. This doesn't happen. It's or a very, very minor amount of your donations. So everyone that goes to your campaign, you have to send there, like through emails and texts and reach outs. And so like when we did our campaign, I was texting and calling and emailing everyone all the time. So just don't expect you just put your campaign up and it's magic. It is not a mechanism for getting people that don't know you to fund your campaign. It is only a mechanism to allow a platform to have people that you send donate. So just realize that.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Let's hear it for our women of Decommodified. And I think it's about a 30-minute break until that session starts. So thank you so much.